Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us for another episode of YOML. This is the Year of Magical Learning. We are actually on
201.
episode 201.
Yep.
201, yeah, yeah. Past 200 yesterday. So 201, this is a brand new book. I haven't read this one, so why don't you tell us what we got today?
Yeah, the book is called Biased, Uncovering the Hidden Prejudice That Shapes the Way That We See, Think, and Do by Jennifer L. Eberhardt. And so this book's about unconscious bias and how it affects how we treat others in society that are different colors, races, shapes, sizes, just general implicit bias, things like that. These hot topics that are out there today of unconscious bias and things like that, right? This book is about those topics and how to see them, how to address them, how to overcome them. So I found it interesting. The reason why I read this book, this is another book that Felicia and I decided to do together. As you know, my wife is, her meaningful work is she's a diversity, inclusion, and equity real life champion. I mean, like literally, like this is what she does. This is what she eats, sleeps, and drinks. This is what she did when she worked for IPS and designing curriculum that was, had this lens on at all times. This is the conferences that she goes to, and this is the school that she started has this lens on it to try to eradicate that in her own school and help kids to, be able to live a life of where they recognize their unconscious bias and they try their best to overcome that. I mean, this is really important stuff to her. So because of that, obviously we're reading books together. I put the ball in her court and I was like, we'll do something that's a Felicia activity on this one. And it was fun. We listened to this one together. It was an audiobook. Lots of good conversations that it generated because hey, when it's meaningful to somebody, they want to talk about it, right? I often struggle to get my wife to talk about anything abstract. She doesn't like to do that stuff, but like when it's meaningful to her, this is like one of the most meaningful things to her. And, she was at least opened up and would want to talk. So it was cool to be able to experience that with her. It was fun. As for what I learned personally, it isn't dictionary to me in this unconscious bias, thinking fast and slow, influence, nudge, alchemy, think again, humankind, all these books. We've already talked about all these books in this journey already. All these books do talk about biases and heuristics and things that we are elephants, the happiness hypothesis, the elephant in the rider. This is our elephant at work, is unconscious bias. We are trained, our elephant, is evolutionarily built to have unconscious bias, toward other things because it's potentially danger. It's potential, people you don't know. It's stranger danger. I mean, kids have this from day one. And what we've learned on this journey, if there's anything that we've learned on this journey, is this definitely exists. Like 100% it exists. Like you are going to have your elephant is going to be pre-programmed, and it's really hard to change your elephant. So here's where I thought, and this is what I kept not arguing. This is where my input on this conversation went with my wife. I was like, look, if I accept that this exists, which I do, I understand the concept of it and the idea of it. And I say, okay, I think I can sign on board on this. My issue is society typically gets what societal constructs happen and systemic, the systems and practices and things that we end up doing are oftentimes just they align to what the majority of people's elephants just do unconsciously anyway, right? So like those things are like that's like moving a herd of elephants, 500 million herds of elephants to go do something else, and that's not feasible, right? Like so to tell everybody you have unconscious bias and that you should change accordingly, it's great to be aware of it, but like as we know on this journey, it is really hard to retrain your elephant. Like it is really, really hard. You got to damn near have absolute meaningful work and a purpose to retrain that elephant because it's going to take you years and years and years of daily consistency and nudging from your rider on this journey to make your elephant do what you want this elephant to do, right? So what is this? If this is meaningful work for you, like her news, a lot of this stuff and elements, and then they live this stuff every day. Good for you. Like if that's your meaningful work, then by all means, go to town and bring others in that's meaningful relationships that care about the same thing. And I guarantee you, you will have an ecosystem where implicit bias training and understanding, unconscious bias and how that reflects with racial and systemic inequities and things like that. You will have a bunch of people to see what you see. I'm all for that. But here's the thing that I say, and this is my reflection title, is quit fighting for a seat at someone else's table and just go create your own. Like you can go build whatever world of what your elephants do, and how you want those elephants to act, like, and find other elephants to want to act that way. You can go do that right now. What you shouldn't do is stop fighting everybody else's elephants and tell them that they should do this too. If it's not meaningful to them, it's never going to change anything. Like, it's just never going to happen. So like, stop trying to go change, like you and I for Clevany, like we don't want to go change corporate structures. Like, we're not going to go fight the man and change all the elephants and everything that's been, built up to for the whole eat the frog and grind every day and hustle culture and all these other things. Like, we can't change that. Like, that's what people see, and that's fine. But what we can do is we can go build a whole nother world and a whole nother ecosystem that is aligned to what our elephants and what we want those elephants to do, and other elephants will come that want to go do that, right? So that's what this book really taught me and really made me see, is like, it's not worth your time to try to retrain other people's elephants if they don't want to retrain. But the people that do, go build your own ecosystem. That's it, I guess. I'll pause there. Would love to get your thoughts.
Well, I think you are exactly right.
Yes.
With you and me going on this journey together, we understood each other on a higher level than any other people would. We understand the principle of being a beaver, right? Being a beaver means that if you're a beaver, you can't expect everyone else to be a beaver. And if a beaver isn't as awesome as a lion, well, so be it. You don't have to be awesome like the lion. And when you try to retrain the elephant, it's one of those things where you are retraining herds of elephant, and like you said,
it's impossible.
Impossible. And that to me is so kind of like, on the gist of this book alone, I think this is opposite of what we at a company, on a company level, don't want.
Yeah. Well, broad awareness of the idea around meaningful work and meaningful relationships. I don't think we want that. Broad awareness around people aren't fulfilled or maybe not living a purpose-driven life or something like that. I mean, who the hell are we to tell somebody, like, live a purpose-driven life and meaningful work and meaningful relationships will lead to sustainable happiness?
For an advocate of equality and inclusion is doing more harm than good.
If we went around and forced people to say, hey, you are not happy in this world, in this environment, and they're going to go, what do you mean? Like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying, but like, what do you want me to do? Just quit my job and like go do like, all this other stuff, and you just want me to do that right now? Like, I can't do that. Like, I mean, like that would take so much paradigm shifting and reframing and all this other stuff for somebody to go and shatter what their elephant was and everything that their elephant had been walking toward for their whole entire lives. It's so infeasible to even think that that's going to happen. Now, somebody may go, we talk to, and here's this message. They may go, all right, I actually kind of like this. And yeah, you know what? I am open to, I see what you're talking about, and I'm open to learning more. Show me how we would do that. And then that's when that little elephant walks over to our little herd, and then we can help that elephant to understand, right? And that's it. Like, that's the only thing that we can do, is help one elephant at a time to want to when they want to engage, to help them to see a different way of living their life, or how a different way of seeing the world, or a different way of interacting with the world around them, right? Like that's all that we can do.
Right. So I want to bring up something we said in the past, why we hate philosophers. Right? We love philosophy, but we hate philosophers. And the difference is that a philosopher, they insist on you practice what they preach to you. And to me, having somebody say, hey, equality and inclusions, it's really doing the same concept. Is you forcing some ideals onto someone. And to me, that's really, I just don't see how that's even aligning with anything Clubney stood for. It's
not
against everything that we believe in. Right. And you have to understand that. So with your reflection on after reading this book, one thing that stood out to me is that you have been able to see the concept and say no to it. And one of the biggest reasons why I can think of is because you know who you are. You know your core values. And when they present to you a core values that say, hey, this, Chris, you should be, be included.
Equality
and
should
you say,
be one
well,
of your core values. And I go,
no,
I don't think it should. And that's okay. Totally right.
So the most important point is that we have to understand that because if I tell you an elephant and a bee has more common DNA than a human and a monkey.
An elephant and a bee.
The elephant and a bee
Okay.
has more common DNA than a human and a monkey.
Do they really?
That's the fact. I'm telling you the fact.
Is that a fact? I mean, like, is that a fact?
No, I'm just making shit up. I'm
Gotcha.
making a point. It's like, so because you don't know, you will tend to accept it as true.
Sure.
But because I bet it so much that you kind of get a hint that I'm pulling your leg. But
Right.
the point I'm making is that when somebody does not have their own core values, and somebody say that diversity and inclusions and diversity makes you stronger, blah blah blah, there's nothing for you to dispute. How can you dispute if you don't know? You don't have only one fact. There's no
Right.
other fact to refute that, right? And so
Yeah.
that's the problem, is when a philosopher or somebody like this author say, hey, you should be included in equality and all that. People who doesn't have their core values yet will kind of be tricked into adopting like core values. Something with
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
you
they're
were growing up.
They're persuadable.
You need to embrace this, and they do the hardest thing first, and they eat the frog because you don't have any other core values. You say, hey, no, that's not me. But immediately when you read this book, right, and this is from your wife, so you would want to agree with her. But the thing is, because it is against your core value, you say, no, this is not what I need.
It's not against my core values. It's just not my core values. Like, I don't want to say that I'm against it. Like, I mean, I actually agree with the idea. And I'm aware of it. Through this whole when we were reading this book together, like, I even personally, like, as I would like walk by, somebody that was, an African American person on the street or something like that, I would think to myself, like, do I see that person differently than I see another person? I'm not saying that I like, does my physical body react differently?
I mean, the thing is, if I'm a beaver, if I'm a beaver and I go to a lion's den and say, hey, I shouldn't look at that,
right,
I'm going to be lunch.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying that.
So to me, how does that make sense?
Well, it makes 100% sense that you would not perceive that person in the same manner that you would see, like my son, or something like that. Like, I'm not gonna, when I look at my son, I see me, and I see my mannerisms. I see
to me,
and it feels safe.
Having
it feels welcoming.
To remove your bias, right? To move the bias that's going to save your life isn't smart. So I'm going along the Sahara Desert, and I see some brown lion that is basically have an empty stomach,
and you're like,
and I'm gonna come say hi to it.
Yeah,
I want to be included. I want to go to the watering hole together. I mean, that's what you're saying to me.
I mean, this is our same species. Like, I mean, this is just our.
How so?
That would be like one lion that maybe looked like.
I mean, I'm embellishing embellishing the fact, but the nuance and differences, tiny differences, could be different. That's why we have this bias. Yes, the bias is there to save you, and yes, I do agree that because we understand psychology more today, the architect propagate some of these propaganda to create false bias on you. And so if you are looking at false bias and you say, yeah, that doesn't affect me, but when you see something that affects you, you need to pay attention.
It's awareness.
Well, diversity and inclusion, to me, isn't universal. You have to look at it piece by piece, situation by situation, scenario by scenario. The danger is you taking somebody's concept just because they say, hey, we should be all equal. It doesn't work. You look at China, you look at all this communism. It doesn't work because people are suffering. Why do you think I'm here? Right? Vietnam is a communist country.
But hang on, what I'm
saying is,
you're taking the literal word. This is the problem.
But no, it's the same concept. No,
I know.
It comes from the same abstract concept.
Agreed. Values are abstract, right? Like, to your point, like.
But diversity and inclusion is also a value.
It is. I know. I agree.
So it should be abstract.
And equality is also abstract. Like, I agree with you. Like, it is not. These are not values that we value in clubbing. That does not mean that these are not values that exist in the world. That does not mean that these are bad values. It just means that these aren't our values, and that's fine.
I mean, that's why I say you are exactly right, because you need to stop fighting for a seat at someone else's table. Create your own. So to me, that brings us back to why clubbing exists, because it to say that we are against inclusions isn't what we're saying. We're saying, hey,
That's
you know,
right.
you have your own thing, you do your own thing.
Right.
The problem I have is that just like the philosopher, they kind of thrust their
can't force it
opinions
down
on
people's
you.
throat.
You have to be included. You have to
Right.
be blah, 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 or you are white microaggressor against a minority. See, well, a minority can never microaggress against a white.
Well, except they can when they're all Indians and they have a caste system.
The point is still valid because you can in reality, but that's not what
you're
people
taught. Like, it doesn't fit into the.
people will see, right? They don't accept it, don't recognize it. I think, you know, an Indian will oppress a white guy, right?
Or another Indian. Like,
you should go work for a Japanese company where 90% of all the employees are Japanese. You will feel the most aggressive, like the most like degrading, like, you know, because the culture is completely different.
Right.
I mean, you will be oppressed so much more than you can see in history. I guarantee you.
I mean, we
and these are these are Japanese company in America. They're not in Japan.
Well, we've seen this with Bridgewater Capital and Ray Dalio. That is not a culture that we want to be a part of. It has a good culture and it works and they have values, but that is not a culture that I want to be a part of. Now, there's another culture called Next Gen, and like that, I would be all on board for that culture. That aligns very much so with my paradigms on life and where I want to go with this world and what my values are. I'm all in for that. Now, they're both just guided by their values. And the same thing, like we're talking about, this is guided by people's values. My wife values diversity, inclusion, and equality.
I respect Ray Dalio's culture. I respect the Japanese culture. Just don't thrust it up on me. Don't thrust your opinions on me. It's
if you're
not
curious,
me. If you say a lion pride must stay together and must not touch water, and you tell me as a beaver, I say, well, I love water. You can't tell me to not to go into the water. I mean, that's to me, that's the problem I have with you. Do your thing, I do my thing. We're good. That's what I'm advocating.
Agreed.
You do your thing, create your own table instead. That's why I agree with you 100%. But the thing is, people don't see the aggressions in trying to force opinions.
And not only that, it's a futile effort. Like, it's never going to work. Like, I mean, you might make some breakthroughs, but like, this is what I always kind of end up going back to with my wife. This is what I ask her all the time. I'm like, assuming that I agree with everything, what do you want me to do about this? What action do you want me to take? Just to walk around and say sorry to everybody that I meet? I mean, what do you want me to say? Let's just assume that we all agree unconscious bias exists.
You need to say sorry to me for the future microaggression acts that you will do to me.
Right.
This is how
I want to live my life.
it gets.
I don't know what you want me to do with it. Like, great, I agree in your value, and I agree on the principles behind your value, but like, what do you want me to translate that to in everyday actions, right? And then if you say, well, you need to do this, this, and this, and I go, I don't want to do that. That's eating the frog for me. And then they say, well, then you're a bad person. And then I go, well, I'm not a bad person. I just don't want to do I don't want to eat your frog. Like, you know, I want to go do the stuff that I want to do. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, as a matter of fact, they're doing that right now when they're doing what they're doing. And I'm like, go do it. That's fine. Like, I don't care. That doesn't make me a bad person. That doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't make anyone a bad person. It just means that, like, it's that fight. Like, you see other people that are like, you don't get it. And they're like, yeah, they don't get it, and they're not gonna get it. It's like, stop fighting it. It's not worth the fight. You and I could go march into every corporate office and start picketing, saying they don't value your values here, and this is not meaningful.
And I don't care.
And they would go, I don't care. What do you want me to do, Chris? I just want you to recognize that you don't have any values in this system. Okay. What do you want me to do? And I go, I guess quit your job. Like, and where do you want me to go? Well, I mean, you could do this free core values quest where we'll help you to figure out what you want to do, and I don't know where that's going to lead. You know, what do you think?
You're a beaver, somebody's a sloth, somebody's a lion, somebody's cheetah, right? And you saying everybody should be the same, everybody should move as slow as a sloth.
Yeah,
it's no different. It seems ridiculous to expect a cheetah to slow down, expect a social person to dial down on his social abilities,
right,
and expect a introvert to dial up his social abilities and social interactions. That dress for every single animals in there, right? You think about it,
except for one.
And so that's why, go back to what I'm saying, is you and I, we hate philosophers. We love philosophy, but we hate philosopher. And for the only reason is that you are trying to thrust upon your image of whatever you think society should be onto everybody else.
Right. Trying to
And
remake other people's worlds, and they don't want it. Like, unless they do want it. And then if they do, then help them. Like,
right. So to
Right.
me, is if somebody comes to another person and say, "Hey, we like diversity, we like inclusion, we like equality," and that person say, "Hey, I love it." Well, go have fun with that person. Do the table with that person. Don't
Meaningful
tell me
relationships.
and don't expect me to do it. And
Right,
so,
exactly.
like, I don't encroach onto your space. Why are you encroaching on my space, right? And this is where we're gonna have the problem is if you do that, I'm gonna say, look, it's going to affect me as this person, as this beaver. You're telling me to be something that I cannot have the ability to do. Like you asked me to fly like an eagle. I mean, you asked me to climb like a monkey. I can't, right?
Right.
It's just one of those things where for me to do that, it is completely useless and
It's
stressful because
it's running uphill.
I don't want to
Right.
do. Just like when you're
Right.
saying, hey, you go out there and advocate for equality, blah. I don't want to do that. I just want to go play tennis. Why are you
Right.
asking me to go advocate? I just want to play tennis. I just want to talk about, books and
What we learned and go
elephant
explore new
habitus and
things and
potters. I just want to do that. I mean, I'm not going to use, hey, no, don't do diversity, inclusion, or equality. That's just nonsense. Blah blah. If it's nonsense to you, but you like it, do it.
not only that, I mean, the shit that we talk about is nonsense. We just like it, and we're gonna go do it. Somebody else will like it as well with us, and that's what you call a meaningful relationship. And then we start to do activities together. My wife does with her.
Not everybody. So the person who likes to play tennis get together and play tennis. And then people,
Right. Don't
no,
do it.
you
Like,
should play tennis. Come
no,
here,
no, no.
play
You do
tennis.
not understand. Like, tennis is so good for your mental health and well-being
Your
and your
physical
physical being.
health
Like,
and
you're
blah blah blah.
you're experiencing nature. You're pushing yourself. Like, cool. Like, I don't want to. Like, like, I mean, and that's fine. Maybe, like, actually, well, this is actually a bad example because the action of playing tennis is concrete. Like, the action of playing equality is I don't know. The action of playing balance is I don't know. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
At least tennis, if I asked you to go play tennis, you could go, well, at least just fucking try it, and they'll go, oh, all right, I'll try it and I'll see if I like it. But like, I don't have to talk in abstracts with it. I'm like, just here, you hit a ball, and then you hit a ball back, and then you hit a ball back, and if you like that, then we can talk again. Because it's tangible, right? Like, it's a concrete thing.
Right.
But values are not. Like, so, like, if that's your value,
Which makes it even harder
right,
to be
to
able to
retrain an elephant.
yeah, to even know if you like it or not, right?
Right.
And so that's the thing is, like that's why I said to you before, it's like I am willing to tell people what I do and the thing that I do. I'm
Right.
not going out there and telling people.
Right.
Ask me and
Right.
I'll tell you. I'm not going to volunteer and say,
We
hey,
tried.
you.
We tried for like 2 months, and then we were like, what are we doing? This is not what we want to do. We were selling this to people and then forcing them to go do, not forcing them, they were willingly do this stuff, but that we were dragging people along. And then we were designing ways to speed it up. No.
It didn't turn out well.
It didn't turn out well.
The core value is class for the right people.
For the right people, yeah.
Is
very powerful.
It's magical, right? It's awesome. But the wrong people, it doesn't turn out well because
it's eating a frog.
They don't see the values in it. They don't see the alignment.
Right.
And so that's the same thing with anything else. Like I say, I don't volunteer any information. I don't go to you and say, hey, Chris, you know what? I read this book and I think, we should quit fighting for a seat at someone else's table. We should create our own. I would tell you, I'm willing to, I'm not going to hold anything back, only if you ask, right? Because you have an interest in it. If you ask, and I'll tell. I will give you what I know, but I'm not going to go out there and tell people. I don't need to share anything with anyone because it's not going to be productive or any usefulness, any benefit for that person because they don't see the value. So I'm wasting my time and wasting their time.
My wife's not in club any, is she?
No, it's not.
Why not? Like, I mean, like, clearly this has been, transformational for the journey that you and I've been on. Like, wouldn't everybody want to do this? If she could just see what we see. And you're like, well, she doesn't, and she doesn't care. She likes diversity, inclusion, and equality. And I'm like, right. Okay, fine. She's got her own little club, and she built us about it. Like, that's great. I encourage that. Like, I mean, that's amazing.
Right.
She's never going to be a club member, and I'm fine with that.
And that's what you're saying. That's what I agree with. You do your own thing.
Right.
Be a beaver. Be a lion if you're a lion. There's nothing wrong with being a beaver. right?
Like you shouldn't walk up to a beaver and go, "It's wrong to be a beaver." The
Useless
fuck?
creature, right?
Like-
I mean, the thing is, you think about it now. I think people have tried to get rid of beavers once upon a time.
They did, yeah.
In
They
California.
weren't actually, they just really valued their pelts a lot. They overvalued their pelts and then they decided to kill them. So that's what happens when you overvalue something too.
You overvalue someone else's
Right.
thing,
Right.
your
And then
own
you take
thing.
it. Right.
I mean, if you overvalue your own, then I think that's the best thing you can happen. But you you coveted somebody else's thing.
Right. And I believe that's called appropriation because you kind of want people to appropriate you. Like if they want to be a part of your values that you care about, like why would you turn them away? Like why is appropriation?
No, I'm
bad?
just saying it's robbery.
You
Rob them. You're robbing them of their stuff. You're taking their value.
Right.
The other stuff, and to me, it doesn't matter to me one way or another. As long as you don't encroach on my territory, I'm fine. I mean, because
agreed. I actually want to know what the definition of appropriation. Taking the action of taking someone's something for one's own use, typically without the owner's permission. Yeah, that would be a bad thing. That would be taking somebody's values like without their permission or something like that, and using it for your own gain. So I'm cool with wrapping if you're cool. Do you have any final thoughts here?
Right, because back to what I'm saying is, everybody is their own species, so you got to be your own. Don't try to. And the caution I want to give you is, if you don't know your core values, you can very easily adopt someone else's.
Right. And that's okay, as long as you think through it and you explore it and you understand why you care about it.
It's not
if
your
you
value.
go through it. If you go through the process.
That's the problem. If you go through the evaluation, you will actually know yes or no with the core values that it's available.
So then it's your value.
Right. You already know your value. But if you don't, then you will, kind of like taking on another person's core values, and that will be wrong for you. If you're a beaver and you're not in where you're supposed to be, like I say, there is one correct path and there are thousands of incorrect ones.
Right.
Because all the other values are not yours, then how can you find the alignment in what you do? How can you find meaningful work?
I agree with you. I would throw one caveat though into this of it's okay to explore new values. Like, I mean, if I thought diversity sounded interesting,
what I'm saying is if you are exploring core values in the quest of finding your core values, that's okay. But I'm guilty of this as well. And that's what I'm saying is, up until you and I get into this atomic bomb phase of our life, we never ask ourselves, who we should be and what's important. We just do exactly what everybody tells us. Right. I'm grinding away. I'm working like 60 hours a week, 80 hours. Sometimes I sleep every other day. I'm guilty of it. And to me, it's like, why didn't I see it? I didn't see it until I'm like 40 years old.
Right. And that's okay. You saw it when you saw it.
But that's danger though, because until you get to the point where you're able to say, hey, I'm on this quest to find my core values. But if you're not on the quest to find your core value, find who you are, you're going to take on someone else's core value, and that will be more likely than not will be wrong for you.
I totally agree. And actually, to be honest with you, I'm interested in exploring diversity a little bit more, not inclusion or equality. I don't really like that at all, but diversity is something interesting. And I recently finished a book, The Sixth Extinction, that I just wrote my reflections on. I just finished it like last week, and it got me thinking about something. Like, the diversity is massive. The ecosystems that get developed, the survival of the fittest, they are intricately woven together and hyper specialized in a very diverse ecosystem. Like, you think of the Amazon rainforest, right? There's so many things.
I mean, diversity even in the same class as equality, because diversity is a good thing. Equality is a bad thing.
I'm interested in exploring the value of diversity a little bit more, because diversity creates complex ecosystems, and then it also creates hyper personal specialization where you have to get really, really good, almost beavering on purpose, right? Like, so I almost start to think it's really interesting, because then I started to get this visual in my head as I was listening to this and thinking through this. As you go further and further away from the tropics, like, the diversity gets less and less and less. And then you start to hear, then it made me go think about countries like in Scandinavia, where everybody was always like, well, Sweden knows, what it is. Like, the colder you get, the less diversity you have in general, which means that you are very vulnerable. Sweden is very vulnerable. Like, one stupid thing could happen and wipe them off the map, number one. But Number two, like they have nothing to challenge their lay of the land for the most part. So sure, their ecosystem may work right now, but like one dumb thing that happens, like, and they're gone. You know what I mean? Like, and like that whole country is gone, you know? Whereas the United States, you think of, you know, in a weird way, if you're going back to the diversity conversation, like we have such internal conflict and diversity of humans and all different kinds of ways of living and life and specialization. This big hodgepodge makes us all have to fight for what we care about most, to get really interested in that, and it hyper focuses us and specializes us into areas where we create more meaningful work projects and build more things, right? And we get very, very good at being us. I'm interested in exploring this diversity.
I disagree with that. I think diversity makes you stronger depending on the dynamics. Just like, it's a hedging, right? For example, have like night hours and early logs, right? I mean, how do people defend themselves throughout the 24 hours window? Because the night owls would be up at night, and that's what they do. And they watch at night, and then they go to sleep during the day, and then the early logs wakes up, and they, stand guard. And so you talking about diversity, even in that sense. I mean, that creates
stronger. It's a stronger environment
because you think about it,
robust, anti-fragile,
exactly, anti-fragile. Diversity is actually anti-fragile.
It is,
right? Because if you're talking about Neanderthals want to kill the Homo sapiens, and you have the other species, they want to kill the Homo sapiens. But if you don't have diversity of night owls and early logs in those days, right, you can't survive because they'll kill you when you're sleeping.
Yeah, 100%. And also with diversity, that's a big part of what we're trying to do in Clubany as well. Because remember, our grand plan to support this thing going forward is a shitload of diverse, meaningful work projects being generated by all the Clubany members and the ecosystem that are connecting and building meaningful relationships and meaningful work projects that ultimately generate commerce to feed the beast, I guess, to continue on to help grow that ecosystem in general. We want more and more volume. Volume is the key, right? We heard about that from Adam Grant in the book Originals, right? These were insights that we built the idea of Clubany around. So I think diversity of ideas, diversity of meaningful work that you want to do, and the projects that it generates.
Right. For me, it's diversity in the right place. Don't do diversity for diversity's sake.
Correct.
This is the problem I have with people. It's like you take something good and you bastardize the thing, right? And so you do diversity for diversity's sake. That's wrong. Diversity for the benefit, because say, hey, we need to have every single piece of every single colors of every single one. What's the benefit? What is the end game that you want?
Organic diversity is powerful.
Force is not good, because you force diversity. Because to me, I welcome diversity, but I don't go out there and try to force feed diversity into Clubany, right?
You can't.
If a diverse person happens to come into Clubany and they bring value, I would really welcome that person.
Right.
But I'm not going to go out and say, hey, we need to have somebody who isn't like Chris or who isn't like True to be in here. That is the mandate. To me, that's silly.
It is. It's forced diversity. Like,
force anything. That's what I'm saying.
Force anything. Yeah,
is not good.
It's.
I mean, force playing tennis is not good. Force eating cake is not good. You think about it.
All right, I think that's a good place to leave this out for the night, and that was a fun conversation as always. So thanks for being a little flexible tonight. And the question we can leave with everybody is what steps are you taking to build the world that you wish to live in? Build your own table. Create your own world. Go find people that want to be in that world too. Go create your own world.
Sounds
good.
Go
do it. Have a good night.
Good night.